Around April of 2021, I purchased this tree along with a few others from a friend of mine. In July of 2021, I did this tree's initial thinning, cleaned out a few overcrowded areas, and I actually decandled one or two little areas that needed to be decandled. Honestly, this was my first initial time to do some exploration of this tree. What looked like a fully balanced tree, in fact, was not. The top of the tree was surprisingly sparse after removing and thinning some of the branches. This told me exactly how I needed to proceed with this tree and what I needed to do next. The pictures you're about ready to see are the pictures in 2001 when I did the initial work on this tree. Now that we had a starting point on this tree, we were very consistent with our fertilizer and really worked on a regimen to get this tree to grow more branches, get more back budding, more needles, so we could be prepared to style this tree in the future. In the very infancy of this channel, I was doing some short videos, and we were lucky enough that I did a short of the tree we're working on today. So this was a year and a half later after getting the tree. This was December. So if you look back at the shorts on our page, you can see this tree in December. This video is from December of 2022 when I did its initial styling. Here we are, 2 years later. It's December of 2024, and this tree has gone through a major transition just from its looks, but its health is better. It has more back budding. We have more needles all through the whole tree. We repotted this in March of 2023. We did some needle pulling, and maybe in certain areas we might have decandled some of the strongest areas. And then we looked at it this year in 2024 and decided it was beautiful enough to put it into our educational exhibit. And so at the end of this, there'll be some examples of what it looked like in the educational exhibit. Being December, it is now time to begin pulling the needles. And, this is a great time to study your tree. You can see in this tree, we've almost got all the needles where they're less than an inch to an inch and a half. And actually, we did a really good thing because the bottom of this tree is super strong. So, as you can see in the video, I'm starting to pull the needles. I'm thinning out the needles. I'm actually counting the needles. Depending on what area I'm working on, I'm leaving a certain amount of needles in that area. So if you pay close attention, you can see what I'm doing. Almost 1 year ago, almost to the day, I did a video on needle pulling. However, in that particular video, I was focusing on the basic cleaning of the bottoms of a newly acquired black pine. In this video you are following along on the refinement of this tree. So why do we pull needles on a Japanese black pine? Mostly, we pull needles for balance. We get light to the interior, we weaken the strong, and we strengthen the weak. These are just some of the reasons why we do this. The Japanese black pine is notorious for growing completely unbalanced, and it's why we do this. So how do we balance a Japanese black pine? Besides just pulling the needles, first let's start with each tree. Growth rate is completely different in your garden. So just because you have a black pine doesn't mean you're going to use the exact same technique. Okay? What I do on this tree is very tree specific. I could never use the exact needle pulling technique on each tree that's on a Japanese black pine in our garden. You ask why. There's too many variables for each tree. On this particular tree, the tree is full. It's healthy. There's a lot of back budding. There's small needles throughout the entire tree. So it's very dense. It's another reason why we need to use different techniques on pulling the needles. And this is a more refinement. Let's start talking about that. This is a refinement process on a little bit more finished tree. This tree is not finished, but it's getting there.